This is Miriam from the Riverside Public Library, and today we have two really new exciting books I would like to talk to you about. The first one is about Queen Victoria, Portrait of a Queen by Catherine Reef. The second book is by Demi Moore. It's an autobiography and it's called Inside Out. So if you want to hear more about these books and all the interesting tidbits that are inside, stick around. So the first book I'm going to talk about is the Queen Victoria book, Portrait of a Queen by Catherine Reef. As you know, Queen Victoria was a very famous queen in England, in Britain. Her reign was a very long one. It's the longest reigns in their history. And she's very well renowned for a lot of things that she did in history as far as progressing her country. She was around during the Industrial Revolution, and she did mend a lot of fences and had a lot of international political relationships. So in this book, they talk about many of those. One of them is highlighted in one of the first chapters. One of the very interesting things about Queen Victoria is she was good friends with Napoleon III. And she went to visit Versailles, and Napoleon wanted to pay back for the hospitality that she showed him when he went over to Britain. So those are some of the examples of how Queen Victoria was kind of an international figure. She also has a very interesting past with a famous person called Abdul. There was a movie called The Prince and Abdul, and this one talks about her meeting Abdul, and he was one of her caretakers. He wrote her letters, he accompanied her to all the royal functions, and he was like her executive assistant. Not too many people knew about Abdul because it was kept kind of quiet, but in this book they do talk about him. And here's a picture of her and Abdul outside. He's waiting for her for whatever she would need. But it was more than being an assistant, it was also like a really good friendship. And her and Abdul really had a long friendship for many, many years together. So in the book, there is an excerpt that speaks about Abdul. The Queen Victoria, he had been zealous, attentive, quiet, and gentle, a man with intelligence and good sense. So he was very smart, and he helped the Queen with many of her daily duties. The Queen was also married for a very, very long time to Prince Albert, and they had a wonderful marriage, and their wedding is in here. It talks about how their wedding was, how they met. So basically her whole life until her passing. So if you have any interest in learning about Queen Victoria, it's not a very long read, but it's very interesting, and it has a lot of pictures and graphics which I will insert here, as you can see, and it's very interesting. So I highly recommend Victoria, Portrait of a Queen. You can download this on your cloud library today. Now for my next book I'm going to be talking about, this one is called Inside Out by Demi Moore. As you know, Demi Moore has had many, many, many movies, nominated for Oscars. She was married to the very famous celebrity Bruce Willis. They have several children together. She was married to Ashton Kutcher, which we all remembered from that 70s show. And I believe she's happily single now. But this book talks about her upbringing and how she was influenced by Hollywood. So lots of good, interesting information. So I don't want to give everything away from the book, but if you are interested in learning about her life and learning about how she started in the industry, it is very compelling. Her beginnings, and she did have a struggle with abuse when she was younger, so she does chronicle that in the book. She also talks about a miscarriage that she had with someone, and she talks about what she sees in the future for herself. Demi Moore, after I read this book, I was really surprised of how intricate her life was. And I'm just going to be reading an excerpt from the book that I found really interesting about her life. So this excerpt has to do with her meeting Bruce Willis. Once again, this book is by HarperCollins. When he asked for my number, I felt a wave of schoolgirl flutters. Do you have a pen? He checked his pockets and came up empty. Don't leave, he said, and went skittering off to get one. Then he wrote it on his arm, a sight I'd seen a million times over the years. Bruce was always writing things on his arms. But that first time, I noticed that his hands were shaking. He was so vulnerable in that moment. All of the bravado was gone. So things like that are in the book about Bruce Willis, about Ashton Kutcher, about other people that she made movies with. Once again, this one is called Demi Moore, a memoir, Inside Out. This is available on Cloud Library. So I highly recommend this book and also the book Victoria, Portrait of a Queen. There's lots of content on Hoopla as well on Queen Victoria if you want to head over there and see other documentaries. So thank you so much for joining me in this episode of Miriam the Librarian Reviews. See you guys later and take care. Bye-bye, everybody.